think what we realized was that in our research, we built a lot of AI models. And I realized very much that I can have much more impact in this field and improve patient care and pathology by providing data than by providing AI. But I also realized that providing data so that many people, companies, academics can build AI is going to be much more impactful. But I think, the impact part is what matters here. There's a lot of hard work and a lot of challenges that you have to overcome. You also learn a lot in the process.
I think these types of projects should also put some money aside for everything that can happen. We are adapting every week to new situations. It's very important to have a kind of contingency plan, and I think at the moment this is really lacking from those types of projects. You just think about the storage cost, right? When we started the project, and then it has changed a lot. So, all these things have a kind of snowball effect that you cannot predict 6 years earlier. So I think this would be like probably a note to myself. If we are to talk to the IMI, IHI in the future, I would probably propose something like this for their future projects.
Welcome, my trailblazers. So glad to welcome you today with my guests who already were guests on my podcast, the leaders of the BigPicture. BigPicture is a private-public consortium, and I want to welcome Jeroen van der Laak and Julie Boisclair to today's episode. How are you guys?
Very well.
Very
Thanks,
good.
Alex, for having us.
It was 3 years since we last spoke. And for those who did not listen to that episode 3 years ago, let's start with introducing BigPicture very briefly and introducing the both of you. I'm going to start with you, Julie.
So I'm Julie Boisclair, and I'm the FPA lead for IMI BigPicture.
Yeah, my name is Jeroen van der Laak. I'm a professor of computational pathology at the Radboud University Medical Center in Nijmegen, Netherlands. And I'm also the coordinator for BigPicture.
Which I visited you in Nijmegen one time, and we did a super cool series with your group that I'm going to link in the show notes, that whoever is starting their digital pathology adventure, we highly recommend to go through these videos by Jeroen's group experts explaining everything digital pathology. And BigPicture. What's BigPicture, Jeroen?
BigPicture is a European project. It's funded by the European Union. It's a very large project. It's 44 partners. And what we aim to do is we aim to set up a large repository of pathology hospital images and corresponding metadata. We aim for 3 million images. And next to setting up the repository and the images, we also set up, let's say, all the mechanisms for people to be able to upload under all, let's say, legislation or laws that we have to comply with, and also people to download the data. So it's a large undertaking.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, and very long, because when we spoke the first time 3 years ago, you were at month 15 and you had a few exciting milestones ahead. You had the image upload milestones. So there is a clinical node and there is a preclinical node. And on month 24, the clinical images were supposed to be uploaded. And on month 30, the non-clinical images and data and everything. Did it happen? Did you guys reach the milestones?
Delayed. With this big complex consortium, we often have these kind of delays. So we really underestimated the difficulty to put in place the legal framework for the project. Most of the IMI IHI project, they do that from the beginning, but already at the beginning of IMI BigPicture, it was very difficult. And so we decided to postpone it. And as expected, when we tried to put everyone on the same page and everyone kind of accepting all this, it was difficult to have all them sign in. So it's 44 partner to kind of align 44 ducks is not easy. Everybody also have a kind of different skin in the project. So some being more people that will use the data, others are more people that will contribute data, while others were more companies that were helping with the different parts of the project. So it made it quite difficult to align everyone. Also, this is one of the projects that has clinical data. So all the GDPR aspect is also very complex. So because of that, we were 18 months delayed with the DSA. And without signing the data sharing agreement, unfortunately, the project is almost paralyzed, at least for the
Hmm.
upload. We can do everything else, kind of prepare everything, but the upload could not happen until we signed the data sharing agreement, which was done, I think, end of August 2024 is when we have signed it.
Hmm. Okay, so it kind of pushed the uploads themselves towards like the further part of the project, from what I'm hearing. Which like, did it affect anything, or was it just like shuffling within the framework that you guys, or within the activities and plan that you had? Because kind of like when we talked first time, it was kind of obvious that like 6-year project is not gonna go, even though like when you apply for funding and everything you have to plan, it's not gonna go according to plan. It's too long. Like a 1-year project doesn't go according to plan. But even though you guys are delayed, do you think this affected anything significantly, or it's just reshuffling, or how do you see it?
I think that what Julie already said, if you have to wait for, let's say, these contracts to be signed, of course, also the testing of your software and of your hardware is delayed a bit, right? So people develop the software stack for the repository, but if you don't have any uploaders, it's very tough to find your bugs and to optimize processes. So it's not just that say the contractual stuff was delayed, but because of that, a lot of other things are also delayed. It's a bit of a cascade. I think we will do all the things that we plan to do, but this has pushed us back. And one other thing I think that we may have underestimated a bit is that we want, especially clinical partners, to upload data, which means they have to first find data in their own systems, in their own local environments.
Hmm.
And we knew this was going to be tough. Right? If you have, let's say, regular pathology lab, it's not easy to just prepare data for upload to BigPicture. You have to be able to scan those images. You have to be able to extract metadata, but then also you have to be computer savvy to be able to put the images in a DICOM format, to take your metadata, select the right fields, make them into the right format, and upload that to BigPicture. We know that was going to be difficult because every local pathology lab has a completely different IT setup, has different competences,
Hmm.
and some are very good in all these digital things. Some are a bit less experienced. And what we found out is that actually from BigPicture, we had to provide those data uploaders with more tools than we initially expected. So
Hmm.
let's say the legal stuff that Julie explained was finally settled, and we asked people to start uploading data. We found actually that we had more problems in all these local situations than we expected. So we provided those people with more tools, which in itself is a great thing, right? Because this means we have built the tools and made the tools available for everyone to deal with their own data better,
Hmm.
even independently of BigPicture, I guess. But of course, yeah, this creates delays because people have now to really hurry up, get their data ready, and upload, which is gives a bit of stress and some urgency to the project. So everything is a bit
Hmm.
reshuffled in that sense.
And for non-clinical, we have the luck to have send data. So we are very standardized, the 10 FPA, because we are already using the standards that was imposed by the FDA. It
Hmm.
was easier for us because then it was one tool that was used across all the FPA partners. And we call it the data transporter. It was made by Deciphex. And what it does is
Hmm.
it takes the image and then it cherry pick the variables within the send domains that is needed to fill the metadata standards. So our metadata is about 150 fields. This was also a big undertaking because it needs to fit for both clinical and non-clinical. So the terminology needs to fit for both. It's 270 pages, so it's quite a large amount of work, and we managed to publish this, which is a huge challenge.
Achievement.
But yeah, a huge achievement. Thank you.
Yeah, and I have looked at the list. So I got a list of publications from the last year, and it's an impressive list of publications. Um, but it is kind of a double-edged sword, like you said, Jeroen, because it is a testimony to how many tools and how many different, insights, things came out of this project. But it also says, okay, you guys needed to create them for this project to move forward. And it's interesting that the metadata, it was so much easier in the non-clinical space. I mean, I work in the non-clinical space, so that's not new to me, but I think like the publicity for digital pathology is more like clinical side heavy. And in this case, the clinical side, like you said, Jeroen, everybody has a different workflow. One question that I wanted to add here. So the people who are your partners, who are working and contributing, they already needed to have some kind of digital infrastructure, right?
Yeah, I think for the clinical partners, most of them have some experience with digital pathology, and especially the larger data providers, they are fully digitized labs. And of course, it differs a bit in Europe, but some countries have a lot of digital pathology, some a bit less, but the ones that we selected from the Netherlands, the Nordics, several countries actually, Austria as well, Finland, those are labs that are fully digitized, which means that everything they do is already, every slide is digitized. So that makes it much easier to upload data than when you really have to retrieve your glass slides and start to rescan or to start to scan the slide.
And still, even though they already had digital pathology workflows in place, there were tools needed to support them in giving you those images, right? So at what number of images are we right now? First of all, which month are we now? We're year, what, 4, 5?
We are in year 5. There is one last year.
In February, we have had 5 years. So that will
Yes.
be 60 months. So that's more now 47, something.
Okay, so what's the amount of slides that you guys have now?
So now we have only 115,000. I say only, but it's still a great achievement because it's just a handful of trailblazers that have started to upload at the moment. So just non-clinical, there is only 4 of the 10 FPA partner that have started to upload. So every quarter we double the amount of slides that are uploaded, and we really expect that within the next few months, as there are more and more people that are uploading, it's gonna go more exponentially than just doubling.
To add, we are thinking of extending the project because we feel that for data uploads, because we had these delays, we may need a bit more time. And also the sustainability of the project, which is a very relevant, very important point, may take a bit more time than we expected. So we are thinking of extending the project by 1 year or 1.5 years. It's not been finally decided, but there's a good chance that we will do that.
I'm going to ask about sustainability at the end because this is a super important aspect because it's massive and at some point it has to like independently function. You guys are going to be transitioning out of this as managers and it has to be like a self-contained functioning entity. But before we go there, I wanted to ask, because you started the project before transformers like revolutionized the image analysis and AI space again, before like the convolutional networks were the revolutionary technology. Then ChatGPT, LLMs, transformers, both for vision and for language, came on the scene. Did this affect you somehow? How did it, I mean, it probably did, but how did it influence your approach to your work, both like to analyzing the images, because that's the goal of the repository. We're gonna have the repository to develop image analysis, probably now multimodal, but image analysis is going to be part of it. And also your workflows, and in general, like what did you do with this AI advancement? How did you incorporate it into the project?
I think it's a great question. And of course, you know that in the AI world, a 6-year project is very, very long.
It's like
everything changes in even 2-3 years. I think at the same time, as we said in the beginning, the aim of BigPicture is not directly AI, it's really collecting data. But collecting data specifically for, in the end, AI development. and we want to make that data available to a very broad range of stakeholders. So we're not directly developing AI. We do work on AI a bit, but this is not the main purpose of the project. And I think even though you see these all the new technologies that you just described, I think one thing that is still very relevant is the basis of everything we do in AI is data, right? Even with all these new developments, high quality AI requires high quality data. And in that sense, I think big picture is as urgent or even more urgent than it was when we started this project. For AI development, you need good data. Even if you have foundational models, even if you have LLMs, you will still need data to tune your AI models. But also, if you have AI solutions, you want to be able to benchmark those. And for benchmarking of AI, very high quality data and very well curated data with good reference standards is extremely important. So in that sense, I think data is still extremely relevant. And that is exactly what we want to do in big picture, of course. Now, LLMs have been very helpful actually in our case because I already explained a bit. We want to help people in curating data, collecting data. And actually, we found that curating data, especially text reports, LLMs can be very helpful, very useful. With an LLM, you can just go through many reports. It scales up very nicely because you can just do many, many reports, extract data from that, curate data. You still probably need, in many cases, you need let's say a manual step where people look at the outcome. But actually, we found that LLMs are very helpful in curating data. Next to that, we have started also within Big Picture to think about building foundation models. Foundation models need a lot of data. Big Picture is about a lot of data. So within Big Picture, we set up a task force where we want to build foundation models for pathology. There are quite some models out there already, but the good thing about Big Picture is we can build foundation models that are, we can, let's say, provide that to many users. So it's not going to be very strict commercial model, but probably it will be a very open model. And also because of the let's say the variety of data and the type of data in big picture, we may build very, let's say, specific foundation models. Sounds a bit like a contradiction, but we can have foundation models, for instance, on tox path, which are probably very tough to build outside of a repository like Big Picture. So I think it's exciting developments, and we try to be very close to all of this and actually benefit from all these developments as much as we can.
We try to see those changes as opportunities rather than missed opportunities. But it's not always easy because we have a fixed budget, right? And when those new opportunities arise, often we need to make tough decisions to cut one part of the project to be able to finance a new deliverables. So these things, sometimes the adaptation can be painful when we need to make those types of changes because it means someone will not do the work that was planned at the beginning and sometimes it's not the same people that have this capability, for example, to do the LLM, not the LLM, but the foundation models.
The foundation models.
Yeah.
I want to ask you, Julie, a follow-up question because so foundation model for TalkSpath is something I think I have been seeing, like these attempts of anomaly detection and like models that can do just more than one lesion since 2018-19 at conferences, but nobody has achieved that yet. But my question is, and obviously one reason is there is no such data repository because historically it was very much gated, very much siloed, very much protected by pharmaceutical companies. And my question is, like, what changed, what shifted in the perception of value Big Picture, for example, can create that different pharmaceutical companies decided to get on board with this, contribute data of whatever has been supporting their pipelines and like work together even though they're still competitors?
So yeah, I think when we started it, there was not a lot of FPA, and we ended up with the 10 FPA that signed. But not a long time after it was signed, a lot of other FPA wanted to participate as well. And I think it's the end goal. We see what we are doing. It's very repetitive, and we know that it's going to be impacted by AI. And the best way to do, our pathology work, which is across 7 different species, 60 different organs. I
Hmm.
think having a foundation model that has seen the histology across tissue, across toxicity, also seeing a lot of different toxicity, it's very important. And often, if you are just using the data from one company, you could cover the realm of toxicity that your disease area are encountering, that are either due to the target or the modality. But up to a point, if you are going in another area, you could miss totally something else if you are not trained on something that it has not seen yet. So while the foundation can go beyond this, because it's gonna kind of make a sense out of it, even if it has not totally seen it, although it's better if it has seen it. So going across all the industry and having different FPA that use different modalities, different target, low molecular weight antibody, AAVs, target protein degrader, name it. We siRNA. This way, we can cover a lot of the different toxicity that can be seen in the different species and do something that will be acceptable by the health authorities. Solid, and that we can validate and be accepted by the health authorities.
Hmm. And I think also the power in this is that so many people are doing it. It's not like, okay, one person and they have to like struggle with the authorities. It's a lot of companies that have the same goal of bringing medication to patients that are embarking on one joint effort. So I think that has some indirect negotiating power with the authorities.
Yeah, I think it's the goal of everyone to bring new drugs faster to patients. And us, we don't want to be slowing this down. And if we can accelerate this by using in the future AI, in the near future, I hope, because I think it's not going to take very long once we have these types of repository in place. I think it's a benefit to everyone. And that's why I think they are open to exchange this data and not keeping it near to their art like they used to be. We're not playing very often in the same sandbox, right?
That is true. That is true. Uh, but this, like you say, it's like a platform that elevates everybody, and then they can, do their thing from there. But it's a lot of like infrastructure work, a lot of organizational legal work, like you guys are mentioning, and like that's not really the core work or competence of a pharmaceutical company. So totally a platform that everybody can jump on. Question to both of you for both clinical and non-clinical side of the project, because currently only your partners that have signed up for this and are participating can like play with it or do things with it, but after it gains independence, so to say, what's going to be the mechanism of making this accessible to those who are not part of the building partners? Last time we mentioned the concept of the honest broker. Is that still the plan, and how are you trying to do this logistically, legally, across the globe, across the continents? Like, because in a year, maybe if we're lucky, other people will be able to access it as well. How would they do it?
So at the time of the upload, you determine what is your terms of use. So you determine with like specific term who, how, when, and for how long someone can use your data.
Hmm.
So this is within our metadata standards. And you, as a user, you would go on the internet a little bit like you would do a Google search, and it
Hmm.
would bring you to what we call the landing page. And on the landing page, you have one per metadata or accumulation of data set, or several data set for non-clinical, because us, we plan to have one for all the non-clinical data set. So let's say you, Alex, you want a rat liver. You are interested in making a model for rat liver. So you go on Google and say, I want to find rat liver slides, and then it would take you to the landing page. There you would go then to a discovery tool where you would
Hmm.
say, I'm interested in rodent, Wistar rat, and I just want the liver. And you could decide, I just want control or I want
Hmm.
treated animals. And then you
Hmm.
could even go further and say, I'm just interested in single cell necrosis.
Okay.
Then it would tell you, okay, this is how many slides we have for this. Would you like to register? Then you would click yes. It would take you to what we call our registration system, the REMS. And then in there, you would use life science AI to identify yourself. For example, it used the ORCID
Hmm.
identifier. So if you have an ORCID, it will say, yeah, I agree, this is really Alex Zura, and you can have confidence in her, and she can apply for this. Then
Hmm.
within the REM system, you would go through a few clicks saying, this is what I want to do. You would present your project. This is what I plan to do. If it's non-clinical, we plan to have this automated because there is no consent to have from the rats, right? While when it's for clinical, it would pass by a DAC, a data access committee, and
Hmm.
this DAC would tell you, they will look at your kind of project, and they will say, yes, I like the project, we like the project of Alex, and she fit for all terms of use, so let's give her access. Then you would
Hmm.
receive an email, two emails. The first one, you would have a link for the data set. And then the other one, you would have the encryption key. And then these, you would put them together. And then after that, you can download your data.
Hmm. That seems like you already have that in place.
Yeah, we are
It's
using it
very detailed
internally.
description. I was expecting, oh, we're thinking of doing it this way, that way. It's like, no, first email with this, the other email with with whatever.
Yeah, yeah.
So how did you test that? Did you already like go through the process?
Of course, yes. We
Hmm.
needed to kind of use it internally to make sure that it was working,
Hmm.
and that it is ready when it's time to go live. It's ready and it's safe
Hmm.
to be used, right? Safe for our images.
Actually, at our institution, we are already using data from pharma, probably from Chile,
Yeah.
for
Hmm.
research projects. So we are testing the entire pipeline, and still there are
Oh.
some, say, bugs to be solved, but it seems to be working. Yes.
Hmm. So, something that you probably internally are not doing yet is going to be the payment for usage of this data, right? It's not going to be, oh, I'm trustworthy, so I'm going to get it for free. How are you thinking of managing that? Because the cost and effort that went into building all this was enormous, and then there's going to be a cost associated with maintaining this. So my assumption is, okay, those who want to use it will somehow contribute to the maintenance of it. Do you have a plan for that?
Yeah, yes. So we have like the sustainability work package that
Mm-hmm.
is kind of putting in place a little bit the plan that we have for once we go live. So what we are planning to do is to set up a foundation. So a foundation is a nonprofit organization that kind of it kind of continues the mission and the vision of the consortium. So it would continue to have the same type of project and interaction also with the people. So that reassures also the people that have contributed because they signed for the this consortium, and this means that it would continue with the same philosophy more or less.
Mm-hmm.
And also being nonprofit, it means that each cent that we would do would not go in the pocket of a big investors. It would rather always be reinvested within the maintenance and also building up new services and having new data sets in the repository. So
Mm-hmm.
there are a few things that we will want, there will be probably that we were thinking is having some licenses for the use. So this is a one-time payment per year, for example, and it's depending on the size of the company or depending if it's a research organization or not, a university, then the payment is different, with being more favorable for the research and the universities, right? So big companies are paying so research can happen more or less. And
Mm-hmm.
then you would pay for what you are consuming in terms of data, in terms also of services, depending on what type of services you would need. And yeah, I think this is kind of the main way that we will finance the continuation of the project. So this is the kind of more the commercial part of it, which is a very dirty word sometimes when we are discussing with a lot of partners. But we also, at the beginning, we thought we could live with only that, but now we are imagining more an hybrid type of sustainability that will
Mm-hmm.
also be counting on European projects as well.
Okay.
European or international. So I'm thinking, for example, of the European health data space. There are also those AI factories that are being built up. So
Mm-hmm.
and for example, with IMI Big Picture, we try to synergize with Victor and see if together we could have a better sustainability, and putting the slides from the virtual control within IMI Big Picture and having this synergy. So we are also checking what is going on in the environment in our industry at the moment everywhere, and making sure that we grab those opportunity where we can also be part of other consortium or organization like the health data space.
Mm-hmm. So last time when we spoke, and that brings me back to the infrastructure, and you mentioned AI factories. Can we unpack this a little bit? Because on the like user side, we're saying, okay, we don't want anybody to monopolize this data. On the infrastructure side, at least in the US, there are not so many players that are supporting this type of projects with infrastructure, and as far as I understand, AI factories is something to counter that in Europe. Maybe can we unpack that a little bit?
Yeah, I think exactly the way you described it, Alex. So Europe realizes that we are too much dependent on very few, very large American companies for our AI infrastructure, storage infrastructure. So the European Union has decided to invest quite a lot of money in setting up these infrastructures in Europe as well. They are being built right now for many different purposes. So not just for medical purposes, but also for
Mm-hmm.
automotive or whatever you want to use AI for. And we are lucky in the sense that actually a couple of the partners in Big Picture are also responsible for setting up AI factories for medical, let's say the medical field. So in Sweden and also in Finland, they are setting up these AI factories now. And obviously we look at, can we transfer Big Picture to those as well? Because Big Picture now is mostly storage of data. But of
Mm-hmm.
course, we also like it to live the storage, the data live next to the compute. Otherwise, it's not going to fly.
Mm-hmm.
So we're very actively looking into how can we make this connection, and that I think will create more opportunities in the future.
It's so interesting. I have this journal club in the morning, and I always like looking at the European publications, because it's to me it's always like in the US, or like on this side of the pond that I'm currently, it's very much country centric. Let's call it US centric, right? Because it is a huge economy. It is like what matters here. And because it's so important here, not so much is being talked about what's going on there. Whereas in Europe, this thing happening here in the US, and it's like broader, like not just what we're talking about, is still relevant, but it is always in the context, okay, is it also good for us? Do we want to do the same? Do we want to do something different? So I think this, it's kind of a like more multi-sided perspective, and that kind of this AI factory discussion fits into this. Okay, let's look from all the different angles and pick what's best for us. And Europe is obviously super diverse. How many countries are partners in Big Picture? A lot, right? You have 44
I
partners,
think
but
it's
from how many
I think
countries?
I have a
I
slide.
think it's 15,
Yeah,
isn't
I think
it?
I had a
Yeah.
slide in the beginning that said 18, but
Okay.
something
We've
like
lost a few players. We've lost Italy.
Oh, you did? Oh no, what happened?
Sorry. Yeah.
I mean, it's a big project. I'm still super impressed that like the core group is there. Speaking of losing partners, did you lose any other partners in terms of like somebody who was supposed to work with you but couldn't continue? And what did you do about it?
Yeah, we had one company, Cytomine, in
Mm-hmm.
Belgium, that was responsible for the front end. So they make software for viewing offsite images, storing offsite images, annotating, also AI even. They
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately went bankrupt. Luckily, there was a partner in Belgium, actually the University of Liège, where Cytomine originally came from, and they could take over all the obligations and all the work. So that
Okay.
was a big thing. It took us quite some time to get everything established, but they took over this role, and I think the harm is quite limited in the end. But it was an exciting period because we didn't know exactly how to deal with this. And losing your
9 months, like a difficult pregnancy, I think.
losing your front end in a pathology project is not nice,
Yes.
right? You will have the images,
Yes,
but you will not be able
no.
to look at them. So that was a big thing.
But you guys recovered, and also I think for the size of the project, that's kind of little damage. I would say I would expect to be for the dominoes to be falling left and right, but you're pretty stable, sailing in the direction you decided to be sailing at the beginning. Jeroen, I want to go back a little bit to the publications and the tools that you guys needed to create. And I love the names of the tools because the tools were like specific for different things that you had to do. For example, to convert images from other formats into DICOM, you created the DICOMizer. Then to make that data send compliant, you figured out a
Sendifier.
tool to sendify it. I love it. It's like super neologism specific to big picture, and I bet people are going to be using these in the digital pathology space. But we also I looked through the publications, and there was a method to detect and augment artifacts. There was a method or a tool to register histology images. Um, like, what would be the main tools that you think came out of the project that are relevant also for the broader digital pathology community?
Yeah, it's a good question. I think so.
And
The
maybe the
artifact
one I mentioned, maybe they're not the most important, but just looking through the list of publications,
I
they
think all
caught
of them
my
are cool, but
attention.
I'm not completely unbiased here. I think the artifact detection is an interesting one because in our field, every researcher wants to study cancer, detect cancer, grade cancer,
Hmm.
and actually artifacts are not very much studied. It's not really a sexy subject that people like to focus on. I think if you would talk to the typical lab manager or lab technician, they realize actually that artifacts are a pain, right? And
Hmm.
I think in many labs, like our own lab, either you spend a lot of time with your technicians on checking lots of images to catch these artifacts and repair things, rescan, or even cut new sections. Or the alternative is you don't do this quality check, but then you send a lot of poor images to the pathologists, which they're not really happy with because then they cannot finish a case. They just have to ask for new scans. So that's not easy. And in our own lab, we started to use AI for that. So every image that is scanned is
Hmm.
fully automatically, let's say, analyzed by AI to flag artifacts. And then the technician only looks at the slides that are flagged. And
Okay.
actually, that AI model was produced in Big Picture. It was later taken and refined. But I think it's a very relevant thing, and it's a model that is very useful, and there are not that many models out there that can do this at a very high level.
And what we did also, because of the collaboration, is we could also provide annotation on non-clinical slides as well to Gert and Jeroen's group. So we could do one that was also agnostic if it was clinical or
Hmm.
non-clinical, which is
Hmm.
very helpful also and quite unique.
Yeah, and also for immunohistochemistry and other states. So it's quite broadly applicable. Yeah, I think the registration is another one that I think is very relevant. Registration basically means if you have two images, say two serial sections, for instance, can you transform one spatially such that it fits the second one as well as possible? And we use it a lot in our research to, if you want to develop AI, for instance, for H&E, sometimes it's very easy if you want a reference standards to use immunohistochemistry. So we did it, for instance, for let's say T cells, lymphocytes. Uh, if you want to build an algorithm that can find lymphocytes in H&E, you can ask 10 pathologists to click every individual cell. That takes loads of time, loads of money. It's very tedious, but also you still
And
have something.
subjective.
It's very subjective, yes. So the technology that we developed is we stain H&E, we scan, then we destain the section, we stain it with an antibody, CD3, whatever. We scan it again, and then if you overlay these two images, suddenly the reference standard becomes trivial, right? You just find your plant cells in immunohistochemistry. Because of the registration, you know exactly which cells those are. So you have perfect ground truth, and you can have tens of thousands of very good training points. Where if I would ask Julie to click 10,000 lymphocytes, I don't think she will like me that much anymore.
Don't ask me either. Like, I'm not signing up for this task.
No, so I think it's
It becomes very boring. Then we are missing
Yes.
some,
yeah,
right?
and you will make mistakes, right? And it's sometimes you have
Hmm.
to doubt about it. So this is, I think, registration is a very important part there. Another technique that we developed, we developed a lot of techniques for weakly supervised learning, which is
Hmm.
a thing that is studied a lot these days, which we also publish. Like we have a streaming clan.
Yes, I talked to some people from your group. I talked to Gert, right? He was, yes. Oh my goodness, his podcast is one of the top podcasts. He was explaining the weekly supervised approaches. Like at that time, it was deep learning. He talked about streaming. I'm gonna link to it. But like out of all the podcasts, and I have over 170 episodes, his is in the like top 10.
Okay,
And that was
that's
already
great.
also like 2 or 3 years. I'm gonna send you guys the link.
It
But
was the
yes.
work package for lead, which is the lead that is doing the AI and
Hmm.
the service tool for the first 3 years of the project.
So that is a part of this work, not all of it, but part of this work was done within the context of big picture. And I think these
Hmm.
are techniques that are extremely useful because they're not specific for any kind of application, but actually you can use them for all kinds of applications. If you want to do something in ToxPath or you want to do something in clinical, these frameworks are very relevant because they really speed up your development.
And I think that's the beauty also of IMI Big Picture. It's really community based. So you are putting together the pathologist with the data scientist. And this way you make sure that when the tool is made, when the tool is trained, when type of data it's using, it's really, it's going to be useful because you've put like the best of the two worlds together. While if you have only a pathologist, nothing will ever happen. And if you are, you
Yes.
will only have the diagnosis. But if you have only the data scientist, sometimes there will be some subtleties that will be
Hmm.
missed that can be known only by the subject matter expert. So being community based like this and putting together all the kind of actor and stakeholder of computational pathology is really key for IMI Big Picture.
Hmm. And I think so. This is a trend that is happening in the industry, so to say, because with the power of the methods that we have and with the complexity of basically the biology that we are discovering, there's no single like profession that can drive it forward if it's not a collaboration. So just to reiterate from last time, do you remember by heart what the part packages were, like what were all the big picture packages that you had in the beginning? I bet
Yeah,
you
that's
do
Yeah,
if
and
you
they are maintained.
they're still the same as they were in the beginning.
Yes.
Yeah, we didn't change them.
2 are the infrastructures. Work
Mm-hmm.
package 3 are the nodes. So these are the ones that are gathering the data, the image and the data. Work package 4 are the AI and the tools. I don't remember what exactly their name. Work package 5 is legal and ethics plus the regulatory standpoint. And work package 6 is sustainability.
And work package one, that is us.
That's it. That, yeah. Work
Right,
package 1 is like
the
the
leadership, the bosses. Would you add anything or subtract anything if you were designing it from scratch again?
I don't think.
I don't think so. It was well
Mhm.
designed from the beginning. The only challenge I think is work packages tend to work very in silos, and
Mm-hmm.
there are a lot of cross fertilization that needs to happen for a lot of the tool to be put in place. So we did what we call task forces, and task forces are rather across work packages, and they are meant to achieve one goal. So, for example, the metadata one was one where we needed several different expertise. So you needed the ones that are making the database, so the XML expert. We had then the pathologists, which was more for the pathology metadata, the patients or the animals, the species. And then we had like more the data scientists or the AI engineers when it was more about the image metadata, the annotation metadata. And then we had the lawyers for the policy metadata, which is everything that is IP and the terms of use and things like that. So all these people then need to come together to be able to make the metadata happen. And this is sometimes a little bit more difficult to put in place.
Mm-hmm. I like the way that you put it. Like, okay, you have the packages that are kind of silos, but then you have to step outside of this because the work, like the super expert, very niche work, is still going to be happening in silos because you have a certain subject matter expert that has to work within their expertise, and it's not going to help them to have somebody from outside of the expertise. But then a higher level of the task forces, yes, task forces that goes and checks, okay, who could benefit, like how can we make things happen, which of these people need to work together at a different level. And before we move on, I'm going to show you Geert's podcast. Top episodes, guys. Number one is obviously Welcome to the Podcast. Then there's QPath. And the third one is Geert Lietjens, Radboud UMC Weekly Supervised Deep Learning and Weekly Supervised AI for Pathology. So he's top three, actually.
Cool. Yeah.
I need to let him know. I need to post a post on LinkedIn. We briefly mentioned Victor. I want to elaborate a little bit on this to give an example. Okay, what can this project synergize with, and to also give the not impression, but like give the information that there is more of this happening in the world. And I saw also something that surprised me, like how much of this stuff is happening in the world, like how people are aware of different aspects of AI. Was when I was reviewing, there's a series of publications in Modern Pathology, basically explaining AI in pathology. It's called 7-part series on AI in pathology. And then one of these was about regulatory frameworks. And like the world, not the world, the word or like the famous, oh, regulators are lagging, they're always like behind. And when I looked at the number of guidances that there are regarding AI, I'm like, no, they're not really lagging. So like along the same lines, there are other projects, including Victor for virtual control. So maybe Julie, you can explain a little bit about this one.
Yeah, Victor is a project to gather the data, the metadata or the data from control animals in from our not only from our non-clinical studies, but also, for example, in university, if they have animal model or knockout mice or things like that, they could gather in one place the animal data from the control or untreated animals, more or less. So it goes beyond just the FPA partners. Although the FPA, there is I don't remember how many there are partners, but the 10 FPA partners of IMI Big Picture, we are all in Victor as well. And there are
Mm-hmm.
also CROs like Charles River, like
Mm-hmm.
LabCorp also
Yep.
that are in there as well. And by gathering all this metadata, then in your future study, if you have the same study design, the same species, same age, and so on, you can reuse this data instead of having to put animals on your study. So this way, it's a way to reduce in the future the animal use on studies, research studies, or non-clinical studies like our study. And when they have designed the IHI Victory project, uh, there there was a kind of a little bit of money just to make a proof of concept for the gathering of old slide images from those virtual animals. And if we really want to do an impactful database, then what we would need is to have a repository like IMI Big Picture, which is perfect for that, where we can also host those virtual control all slide images. So
Mm-hmm.
your place where you would search for your perfect control for your study. So, for example, I have my study. It's a 4-week rat study, Wistar, and it was run at Charles River, Montreal, for example. Then I enter all those things, and it's a gavage study, I will have a recovery of 4 weeks. I enter all those parameters, and then there is an AI that is kind of looking at the data, and it's proposing within the database, these are the best control for you. There are 20 of those. Do you want me to haphazardly select 4 of those for your study? Then
Mm-hmm.
it would select them, and within the metadata, there would be a place where it would say, these slides are in IMI Big Picture. You click, and then you could get the slides in IMI Big Picture. So this is how we see that it could work in the future. And this means that you are sustainable both for Victor and both for IMI Big Picture, because if you don't have all slide images in the future, it's going to be very difficult to apply virtual control. And I think this is a little bit the elephant in the room when we are talking about virtual controls. They often forget that the pathology part, when we are entering our microscopic finding, it comes from what we are seeing.
Mm-hmm.
If we don't see
So you need to
anything,
see it actually.
exactly. So that's something that is often overseen when it's discussed for virtual control. So
Mm-hmm.
now we will do a pilot, and also this IFX is as well in both
Mm-hmm.
projects. So we will do a pilot within IMI Big Picture and Victor to see how this could function in the future.
Mm-hmm.
So it's really an
Amazing.
opportunity that we want to seize, and I think it's an opportunity for both projects to make
Mm-hmm.
it more sustainable.
Yes. And these are both like massive endeavors. So finding synergies is you don't reinvent the wheel, but also you like double benefit each project. So this is super cool. I wanted to ask you because we talked about you internally requesting data from each other to check the workflows to make sure that everything is working. Are you seeing, and you also mentioned that, okay, after you already signed or like kind of agreed who the partner is, many people wanted to become partners in addition. Are you seeing already demand from researchers or companies to access this? Are they like getting anxious to be able to get their hands on the data? How does this look?
Yeah, there is a lot of demand. I think that was one of the reason why at the beginning we were a little bit more silent, because we didn't want
Hmm.
to kind of
Have them
create the
flood you.
hype and then not telling them, well, we're not able to deliver anything.
Hmm.
So I don't know on your side, but I have to say on the non-clinical side, there were a lot of companies contacting either directly different FPA partners, or giving us a call, trying to get access to the data as soon as possible.
Yeah, I think for us it's the same. There's a lot of companies in the field that just are looking for data to build AI. And of course, a lot of researchers that approach us for data. So they still have to wait a bit, but we're getting closer.
But at least they have some publications to work with, right? You guys publish, so this is amazing. Question, personal question. You can answer or decide not to answer. Would you do it again?
I think I will answer
You already
only
answered with your
my
facial expressions.
with my lawyer in place. It's very challenging. It's a big project that is very challenging and need a lot of resilience, I think, from the management. I don't know for you, Jeroen, but yes, it's be resilient and continue smiling.
Well, for me,
Keep smiling, right?
when we started this, when we started to plan it even, I think what we realized was that in our research, we built a lot of AI models. And I realized very much that I can have much more impact in this field and improve patient care and pathology by providing data than by providing AI. I can provide, in my career, a certain number of AI algorithms with my group. We can try to push them forward, bring them even into practice. That's what we try to do in our research. But I also realized that providing data so that many people, companies, academics can build AI is going to be much more impactful. Yeah, it's less interesting academically. Of course, it's building infrastructure, it's collecting data, it's making life of other people better, possible. But I think, yeah, the impact part is what matters here. And I think that's why I probably would do it again, even though it's a lot of hard work and a lot of challenges that you have to overcome. You also learn a lot in the process. I think we all grew up with at least a lot of the legal stuff, and yeah, there's a lot of stuff that we learn along the way.
Yes, I agree with you. I think it's it's through those challenges anyway that we are learning so much, right? Because when things are easy, you're just applying something often that you already know how to do it. So those challenges really help you to gain a lot of knowledge. Is also being involved in stuff where, okay, well, I'm gonna give it a try. I've never done this, but I'm gonna give it a try, and then that's when you get to know also. At the beginning we started, for example, you had the pathologist, you had the data scientist, and their knowledge was totally separated. And then up to a point, you get to know each other, you get to know each other's special subspecialty. I don't know enough to be able to do what they do, but I know enough to have a discussion with them that is meaningful and that will be also helpful in their development of a new model. So you have this kind of Venn diagram of what we each know and now what we know of each other, which is very important, and it is also a catalyst, I think, in the development of those AI tools and how useful they will be also in the future.
The
good thing is, I guess, we made a lot of new friends in the process, right?
Yes.
The network
and
is
any
really
enemies as well.
Maybe some enemies here and there as well, yeah.
Like life, right? Hopefully more friends. But yeah, like you say, Julie, the catalyst and the keyword impact that you say, Jeroen, it's not the first time that I'm hearing this, that, okay, the thing that I do in my expertise, I can be like super expert, but this is only like one thing. The thing that has power is when I work with other people and we deploy something. Even though the development of that thing that I'm a specialist in would take me 3 weeks, and the deployment took me 3 years, it still is a lot more powerful and has more impact. And that brings me to another thing that like needs to be present, and you obviously are here again after 3 years, so you do have that, like a super strong belief and passion in what's behind this endeavor, like the mission of, okay, the why are we doing this for, why are we doing this, who are we doing this for, and like if this patient centricity is well, in the center, because it's centricity. It's like, it's what drives people from like different aspects of helping them, like from the pharma side, from the clinical side, from the computational pathology side, from the legal side, also like the protecting of the rights of everybody who's contributing to this huge data set. So yeah, I think a strong sense of mission is a must for making this successful. And even if it's not like 100% as you wanted it in the beginning, to endure 6 years doing this, guys, I'm really full of respect for you, for the project, for what you guys have achieved.
We're
um
not alone now. It's a team. It's a team sport.
I know, I know. And it's gonna be more and more. I think those who think that they can achieve meaningful things on their own, um, they will achieve less meaningful things. I think, at least in the healthcare space, because uh, like the advances in technology and the biology discovery, they become more and more complex, and more people need to work together. I think it's gonna be a necessity to get out of the silos, not only in the project, but also like at every lab level, at every pharma company, every every this kind of endeavor level. Anything else that you want to share? Anything that I forgot to ask, or something that, oh, if you ever do something like that, remember to do this and don't do that? Any final thoughts?
Well, I think what is lacking at the moment in
Mm-hmm.
IMI and IHI project, and it's not the only one that is like this, when you have a field that is evolving so quickly, like ours at the moment, we don't have any contingency plan to be able to adapt to new technologies that are emerging. And it was really heartbreaking to see the foundation model and having the discussion with the work package for and telling them, yes, but this is a lot of compute, a compute, and then it would be very expensive, and you need to kind of reduce the enthusiasm, while this would be super impactful. But it's like a mother that cannot give, because it's the end of the month and I cannot give you what you need, my kid. It's really heartbreaking a little bit, but they understood, right? We're trying to do it nonetheless. So these types, we do renovation and you have a 20% contingency plan. I think these types of projects should also put some money aside for everything that can happen. We are adapting every week to new situation, to things that needs to change. It's very important to have a kind of contingency plan, and I think at the moment this is really lacking from those types of projects. And it's difficult for, you just think about the storage cost, right? When we started the project, and then it has changed a lot, and then there was COVID also, and then there was this chain issue, and then we could not have server that were not expensive. And so all these things have a kind of snowball effect that you cannot predict 6 years earlier. So I think this would be like probably a note to myself. If we are to talk to the IMI IHI in the future, I would probably propose something like this for their future projects.
Anything from you, Jeroen? Anything you would do differently, or you would add, subtract?
No, I fully agree with Julie. I think this is a very relevant point. I think for me, yeah, I could imagine if we would do this again. We learn a lot, as I said. I think I would, what you try to do in big picture is be very lean, right? Think about the end product and translate it backwards to see what actions we have to take to get to that endpoint. Seeing it now, I would be even more rigorous in that. And now we see that we did plan some things that in hindsight, we feel like, okay, yeah, that was not really crucial for this project. So we should have probably spent the money better. And we dropped a couple of topics like federated learning. Yeah, federated learning was, actually, we had quite some budget for that. And we realized that it's a very complex topic, where even with the budget that we could spend on it, we would not really make an impact. So better keep that money for stuff that is really critical for the project. But again, it's not easy. You have to look forward 6 years.
Yeah, would you have known that at the beginning, or you had to experience like enough of the project to be able to go back and reallocate resources?
Yeah, I think that definitely happens, but I think some choices we could have made better. But also there, I mean, it's, writing this plan was multiple people effort, of course. It was not just the two of us. It was not even 5 people. It was probably closer to like 15 people, or even more than that. So also there, you have to find a balance. And a lot of people have different ideas about what is crucial for the project. So all in all, I think, yeah, I would say stay tuned for more updates from our side. I think we will definitely build something that is very valuable, and a lot more to come.
Hmm. I want to talk to you when this is all ready and you guys like can lean back and say, "Oh, this is the foundation that's managing. You click here and you can get your slides and develop whatever you want." I'm super curious to for you to get to that point and look at this as like an adventure. Now it's still ongoing, and I bet you guys have some challenges with all the extensions, with all the things that changed. But it was a pleasure talking to you. Tremendous respect to the whole project team. You guys obviously represent them all, and you've been my guest for the second time. I'm honored to have you here, and thank you so much for the candid discussion.